Now this is pulmonary interstitial emphysema. Pulmonary interstitial emphysema is very common in the really small babies, 500-600 gram babies, because they're, number one, they don't have many alveoli, and number two, oftentimes you have to use such high pressures to adequately oxygenate and ventilate them that air leaks out of the alveoli and stays in the interstitium. By doing that, it compresses the alveoli that you have, so the ones that you do have are non-functional. You want to try to come down on your peak because that keeps your alveoli over-distended. But he's very small and he needs peak in order to oxygenate and ventilate. He needs PIP in order to oxygenate and ventilate. These babies often do much better on high frequency, so oftentimes they're on an oscillator. But you can see how the heart is squished here? And see, all you can see is just places of atelectasis. And, this may be a baby that's 2 to 3 days of age. Meconium Aspiration Syndrome. This is the type of baby oftentimes that y'all will have to go out and pick up that may have pulmonary hypertension, that type of thing. Look at see all this white, fluffy, almost looks like marshmallows, but it's not a coarse, it's not like DPD, which is really coarse fibrotic looking. It's not linear streaking. Babies that are born with meconium, studies show that you can continue to suction them up to 20 minutes after delivery and get meconium. After about 20 minutes, though, it's spread to the periphery. Oftentimes, babies with meconium aspiration have aspirated in utero. Whatever the asphyxiating episode was in utero that caused them to have meconium also caused them to aspirate in utero. So, no matter how much you suction, no matter how much you direct suction at delivery, it's difficult to get all of it out, number one. Number two, people should always direct suction with an ET tube and a meconium aspirator. Try to direct suction with a catheter. Catheters are made to suction ET tubes with, so there's an opening at the end of the catheter and a very small opening on the side of the catheter. But the ET tube has a large opening, has a large bore opening at the end that is slanted, and it's much easier to aspirate large chunks of meconium from the trachea if you suction with an ET tube. So that helps tremendously in the delivery room to do that. These babies often have pulmonary hypertension. They have many problems. Okay. These are the kind of babies you'll be bringing in too often. Again, we want to look at everything on the chest X-ray. This is a lateral, okay? Do you see the NG tube? Right here, it stops and goes back up, doesn't it? Well, that usually means there's a patch. But now he's got air down here in his stomach. So that means he has to have a TE fistula. If he's got esophageal atresia, and he's got esophageal atresia because the NG tube won't go down, okay? But he's got air in his stomach, so you know he's got a TE fistula. Okay? Now, this is not a true surgical emergency within the next 30 minutes if the intestines aren't unobstructed. But you have to get a complete flat plate because if he's got a TE fistula and an esophageal atresia, oftentimes these are associated with other anomalies. So you need to make sure you get a flat plate. It can be associated with duodenal atresia or jejunal atresia. If there's an intestinal obstruction, every time he breathes or you breathe for him, air is going directly into the stomach. And if he's got an intestinal obstruction, then the stomach's going to rupture and he's going to be in real trouble. So if this is a true emergency, then he has to have a G-tube rapidly to prevent perforation. All right, this is my favorite exercise. Yeah. And do you see any air in the intestine? Maybe a little bit right there. That's said. So how
Crawl
come?
up in the stomach.
That's right. That's his NG tube. So how come we haven't decompressed his stomach? Because he has a pouch. We can't get the NG tube down there. He has esophageal atresia. So we haven't decompressed his stomach. He only has one other little bubble. This is a double bubble. A huge stomach, one other little bubble. What's a double bubble on KUB? Duodenal atresia. So, this baby has duodenal atresia, a TE fistula, has esophageal pouch. So, this is true emergency. This baby was in our intermediate care section for about an hour and a half before he started having. He was less than 2,000 grams. He was about 1,800 grams. That's the only reason he came out to the NICU, mom with no prenatal care. He was about an hour and a half old and started having a little bit of respiratory distress. Now, what else do you notice on this X-ray? Okay, he's rotated some. He is rotated.
Starts on the wrong side.
That's right, his heart's on the wrong side. Right. It's dextrocardia. It's not sinus inversus because the liver's on the correct side and the stomach's on the correct side. So he's got dextrocardia. What else? Remember, you start to look at everything. Look at the spinal cord and what you see on the spinal cord. Right, he's got half vertebrae. So what's the likelihood that this baby has some kind of genetic disorder?
Mama looked that way too.
We would never know since we only saw her flying through, delivering this baby and out the door, you know. So, this is a surgical emergency. This baby has to have a G-tube immediately, or he will have a ruptured stomach. Okay, now this is the one that I was telling you about that happened just a month or two ago. The nurses came to me and asked me to look at the line placement. Okay, this was a PICC line they had put in. You see the PICC line right here. Okay. Now, did they move all these other leads so I could see that PICC line? No, I had to use the little buttons on the computer to delineate the internal lines, and it gets rid of the outside lines.
That's why you get the That's why you get the
Use a computer.
That's right. That's why you learn to use the computer.
Push.
That's right. You know which button to push so that you can delineate the lines and get rid of the outside lines. Now, if I had to look at this on a view box, I would make them redo it. But because I had the computer and I could get rid of the outside lines and delineate the internal lines, I did it. But I missed this. This is a football sign. This baby had pneumoperitoneum. See? Look at this air collected underneath the diaphragm. He was not symptomatic in any way whatsoever. He's got plenty of air in his intestines. He has no pneumatosis, no oral rings there. But I have to tell you that I really did look very closely at this. The next morning,